Greetings, Malala. I only recently discovered your story in early 2015 as I was working overnight and it was really slow, and I saw you on the cover of Time magazine as their Person of the Year, and I was just like, wait a second, I missed something huge. I thought she was just another victim of a greater conflict. How did she become the Person of the Year? And I began to read what was in the magazine about you. And when I came home from work in the morning, I watched your interview with Jon Stewart on The Daily Show, and that's when I really began to understand the gravity of who you were and your cause. And I also discovered that you had written a book, I Am Malala, which I now just finished. And so I wanted to talk to you directly. In person would be the best, but this is the second best thing, about how much your book and your story and your cause has touched me, and the direction of my life that I am now going to pursue because of some fundamental things that I've gained from your book that are going to change what I do in the course of my life. And it has given me a lot of purpose and definition and direction. The beautiful part about this whole thing is that what I didn't understand until I read your book is that I thought you began your campaign for the promotion of girls' education after the Taliban had shot you. I didn't question why they specifically targeted you. Maybe I thought it was because of your father or something of that nature, but I thought it was after that incident that you began your campaign. But what I discovered is that you were a really courageous person before this and after this, and it just made the entire story so much more beautiful. But the three major fundamental changes that I've gotten and gained from your book are really defining. The first of which is the true value of an education. You mentioned that only when someone takes away your books and pens do we understand the value of education. And although I live in America now, I grew up, or I was born in, and for the first 7 years of my life lived in my native country of Bangladesh. And so I understand, maybe not to the severity of Swat Valley, but I understand what it's like to not have an education. And it's the thing is, at one point I did think education was the answer, but then I lost my understanding because I did not know how chemical formulas and physics equations were going to solve the major crisis in people's fundamental understanding of how to treat each other, until you broke it down and explained to me that education not only teaches you those things, but also it teaches you how to interact with each other, how to have respect and compassion, and treat people with equality. And those are the things that I did not see. Those are the things that grades do not measure, but you helped me to understand. And so my view of education has expanded beyond not just what you learn in textbooks, but also the engagement that you have in such an academic and environment that promotes equality. And I needed that. Also, you mentioned that the children in places like Swat Valley in Pakistan, they do not have hope, and therefore they don't have a pathway where they can build their dreams, where they can look for opportunities to better their lives, and therefore the thought of 72 virgins in heaven sounds very appealing, and they join these causes in hopes that they get to become a martyr, in hopes that there are greater conflicts so that they could die in this honor and go to this place of that's much better than what they have. So giving them opportunity, giving them a chance to become something better that we have in these developed countries, I don't believe, just like you probably do, that they would pursue still these causes, these acts of violence. The second major understanding that I've gained from your book is that of the true value of womanhood. My compassion for women has skyrocketed enormously. Like I I have always respected women, but now I see them as the solution to peace. And here's why. Here's why. I've gained, like, I think we all start out with this fundamental kind of hero mentality that, or at least most of us start out with this mentality that when we see chaos and when we see inhumane acts, at least I had this, I wanted to devote my entire life to humanity. I wanted to be a pebble in the pond and spread peace around the world and whatnot. But gradually over time, as I saw humanity being barbaric and so chaotic, I questioned, is it worth saving? Is all of this worth saving if human nature is as chaotic and destructive and just this harsh towards each other? Is that worth saving? And I realized through your story and your cause that this is my own little epiphany, is the reason that I've gained cynical is because this is a man's world currently, and man is a bit more hostile and chaotic and just I just not as coordinated, if you will, in terms of they're run by this quest for power and a sense of greed and cruelty, whereas women have a built-in sense of compassion. They see not only their children as a very valuable thing, but also they can see other people as their children, other kids as their children, and be a mother to a community. And so I think women, empowering women, which is now my discovery, is that through empowering women and creating equality, we can create a higher level of peace, because they can now incorporate their compassion into society as opposed to just sequestering that in their own little houses and be a part of politics, be a part of global change and global efforts. But they need the chance, and the roadmap and the bridge to get there is education. And so I think that has given me tremendous hope that maybe men are not the solution, maybe women are, and maybe through educating girls that they have this power just as men do, then they can have their compassion and care for the world shine with hopefully less greed and less of a thirst for power through dominating the weak. The third major thing that I took away from your story has to do with the value of education. And in my life, I don't know if it's because I've gotten too accustomed to having this education, but for a time I lost sense of what education had to offer me. But now I'm looking into retapping into the things that I have in front of me, knowing through you the value of not having it. And I think I hope that your story inspires others to see what they have in front of you. Just as like when you couldn't go to school and your brothers, they could go to school, but they hesitated, and you said, do you know how lucky you are that you get to go to school? And I live in a first world country, and there are so many resources around me that I could take advantage of. But I guess I needed that to see a world where there is not this opportunity. And I guess it's been too long since I visited my native country, but I needed to see your story, and it has played a tremendous role in the course of my life, and I will continue to follow your story. One final thing though, as much as I would like to someday be in your presence and stand by your side in this cause, in this noble effort, more than that, I would love to meet and talk to your father. He is, of course, the source from which you came from, not just biologically, but in mentality, in your views, in your freedom, and I just watched his TED Talk, and the most beautiful thing he said at the end was, when people ask him what did he do to give Malala, you, the freedom and courage to stand up and talk in the way you do, with this voice and openness. He said, don't ask me what I did, ask me what I didn't do, and what I didn't do was I didn't clip her wings. And I think that is really empowering, because it shows that if you let women be, or give them the tools and opportunities in front of them, that they can become really such a wonderful story as you've become. And so I think that best encapsulates the entire motto or mantra of the campaign of allowing women to pursue education, is to not clip their wings. And I'm really glad your father has allowed you to fly, and I hope that the thing about you is that you have to, I think the world, you brought the world together in a very beautiful way, and you've become a beacon of hope for tremendously a lot of people, or especially kids, unseen kids, kids without voices, kids without hope. And I will do everything in my power to become a part of your cause, and I hope that the world protects you against physical harm, and you continue to do what you're doing, because the world needs people like you. And I'm glad that I was able to discover your story, and I will be a part of it in a way that gives my life purpose. And I understand now what I have to do. I understand now the solution to humanity, from my perspective, is not necessarily just, I've been seeing it just in one dimension, as like, this is a man's world. Although not consciously, but I see now that getting women up to the level of man, that may be the solution, and I look forward to bringing that to manifestation alongside everything that you're doing. It was a pleasure chatting with you, and by the way, I should mention this, you are utterly stunningly beautiful.